Welcome into the Trevor Staub Show, episode number 13. Today we have a great guest. We've got Nate Heinold. Nate is the PDGA Board of Directors president. He is also the head of Ledgestone Disc Golf. He's a tournament director for DGLO as well as the Ledgestone Insurance Open. So he's got all kinds of important roles. We're going to ask him about PDGA ratings, hot topic. We're also going to ask him about all the things he's doing with the Ledgestone Insurance Open this year, and what does the board of directors for the PDGA even do? We're really get into all of that. He's got a lot of good information that you're going to want to hear, so let's hop right into it. Okay, I'm here now with our guest. We have the president of the board of directors for the PDGA, the man behind Ledgestone Disc Golf. He's the tournament director for the Ledgestone Insurance Open, as well as the Discraft Great Lakes Open. We have Nate Heinold. Thank you so much for joining the show, Nate.
Thanks for having me, Trevor.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of just want to start from the beginning. I know I mentioned a few of the things you're doing, but kind of give everybody an overview of where you kind of are at right now, just the broad things that you're doing in the sport of disc golf at the moment.
Yeah, as you said, I run the Ledgestone Open. We're going to have 2,300 players this year. Run DGLO now. We have over 1,000 signed up there. We're running Combined Worlds this year. We have 1,100 signed up there. And then I am the board president for the PDGA, and I chair the Paul Macbeth Foundation, and I am the chair of the PDGA Majors Committee, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something. Obviously, yeah. I run the Ledgestone. We have the Ledgestone Pro Shop and the wholesale program for our vendors. That about covers it. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to give everybody kind of an idea of just all the things that you're kind of doing in disc golf, because it's a very long list. But let's kind of start all the way at the beginning, because clearly you've risen now to a place in the disc golf industry where you have all these important roles. But kind of to help everybody understand where this all started, just take us back to the very beginning. How did your disc golf journey begin? Where did it all start for you?
Yeah, I've been playing for 22 years now, actually. So I picked it up when I was 14 from my childhood best friend's dad, and honestly, I was hooked ever since. We played that first summer probably 3 times a day, almost every day, to be honest. And so, and haven't looked back. I didn't find the PDGA for the first 10 years. I was doing unsanctioned events, traveling all over the country, just playing courses, and then found out there was sanctioned organized disc golf and started picking that up.
Wow. Yeah. That's crazy that you played that long before even finding the PDGA. I know back then it was, even smaller than it is now, so it certainly wasn't quite as prevalent. But I know at one point, you kind of started out like competing, like you said, and at one point you were actually almost 1,000 rated player. You had risen to a pretty high level in the sport. Did you ever kind of think there would be maybe a chance for you to play competitively, like as a living in the sport, or was that always kind of just a hobby for you?
Yeah, I was getting up there, and back then when I was rated that high, that was more of like, that'd be like a 10-15 rated player now. I mean,
right.
I could go to an A tier, and I remember Terry Miller would be filming, and I was on like chase card of Smashbox, and so. But now that rating isn't even like remotely caching, right?
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
And so back then, I mean, I had a really good job. It was never a consideration. I think one year I played 28 events,
Wow.
which was crazy. So
yeah.
I wasn't married though, but I'm married now, have a couple kids, but I thought my ceiling was always going to be 1,000. I never thought I could even honestly get there. I was close, but I didn't think I had enough athletic ability to get above that. I'm not tall. I don't have long arms. I don't quite have the full athletic ability to be the next any of those top guys.
Yeah, same here. So I kind of, when I first became familiar with your name was when the Ledgestone opened in 2015 with the record-breaking purse, when that kind of emerged onto the scene as a big event. That's kind of when a lot of people learned about Ledgestone for the first time, and it really became a big deal in the sport. But where did kind of the involvement with the Ledgestone Insurance Group and disc golf begin, and how did that come about?
Yeah, actually, I worked for Ledgestone, and I started with them back in 2010, and at that time I was looking for a way to grow the insurance business, so I started the tournament in 2011 as an unsanctioned event, actually. Mm-hmm. I sponsored some leagues, and I was just trying to get the name of the insurance agency out there, and then obviously as things exploded, it became its own little business slash all of the above. So
Right. Yeah. Did you ever imagine back when you started? Because obviously, it seems like when you started, you were kind of just, like you said, kind of getting a good name for your insurance group. But did you ever think that the kind of collaboration that you have now is really a possibility?
no, I think the turning point for me, I went to 2012 Worlds in Charlotte. I remember meeting Paul actually for the first time, and he was very approachable. And I remember meeting the tournament director there and thinking, wow, like this is way ahead of its time. Like they have
Mhm.
barricades and they all have earpieces in, and Monster was there with their drinks. And so that was kind of the turning point to say, I want to make this bigger. But the biggest turning point, I played the 2015 USDGC right before the Disc Golf Pro Tour started.
Yeah.
And that's when I first realized that I could take my tournament way to the next level, even above what I did in 2015. And so that kind of is the progression there.
Right. And at this point now, Ledgestone is, people know the Pro Tour side, but the entire event spans over a ton of different courses. It's the largest we have in the world. What is it like, just from a logistics standpoint, trying to run an event of that kind of magnitude?
Yeah, I mean I have 22 employees, so on the disc golf side, so it's massive. The budget is seven figures.
Hmm.
The porta potty budget is more added cash than most tournaments would dream of, to be honest.
Wow.
Just the
Yeah,
porta
that's
potty
awesome.
budget. So just coordinating all of that and hotels and then staff hotels and who's going to be where and do you have backups for your spotters and volunteers in case something happens? Do you have water for the courses? I mean, we buy enough water to, I feel like, source a small country right before the
Right.
event, and so just do we have enough water? Do we have enough coolers? Do we have everything ready to go? Do we have trailers to get everything out? So it is logistical. I think I have over 500 files just for this year's event, just in our
Wow.
internal Dropbox. So
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, it's insane. Just like helped run tournaments that of a decent size, but nothing like that. And I can just imagine all of the, even once you have all the people, just making sure everybody's in the right place and everything goes down just for a weekend or so. It's definitely an insane task. But Ledgestone, just in general, that's kind of the start of the involvement. Obviously, was with the tournament that you were running, kind of getting the name out that way. But since then, Ledgestone, especially in the last few years, has really expanded its brand in disc golf to now this point where you have the store, you're sponsoring players. Where do you see things kind of going in the future for the presence of Ledgestone in disc golf? Is there more areas you want to explore, or you kind of keep things where they are now, or what do you kind of see for the future in that sense?
yeah, I think our three main tenets will continue to be we run tournaments, which includes D-Glow or Ledgestone, or next year the Champions Cup, Junior Worlds, Am Worlds, etc. We have our wholesale side where we give and design discs and we sell them to vendors. The Ledgestone program, which has been there since 2015, and then we have our direct-to-consumer side. So I can't envision what else I could possibly do, but
Right.
I think those three focuses are going to continue to be what we kind of focus on.
Yeah, and now that you've gotten this far in disc golf, and it's so much of the disc golf side of things has grown for you, because obviously when you first got in, it was let's use disc golf as a way to grow the insurance business, but now it almost seems like disc golf has become this big entity on its own. How difficult has that balance been for you, and do you think there'll be a point where you move into disc golf full time?
Uh, yeah, my wife would say that I have two full-time jobs. So,
Yeah, it seems like it.
and I would say that I have more than that because I don't really have a lot of time, and I try to spend as much time as I can with my family. But I'm already working full-time in disc golf, to be honest, and
Yeah.
so it's more of a how much where can I balance the time, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, just hearing from your kind of your resume right now, it seems like definitely a lot to balance. So I'm sure that's difficult. But kind of going into your role at the PDGA, because this is one of the reasons I really wanted to get you on here, because I think that the PDGA for me is just kind of an entity that I'd like to understand more about, like what's going on behind the scenes. And I think with you being the president of the board of directors, that was a great place to start. So just kind of to start, why did you decide to run for the PDGA board of directors?
Yeah, when I first ran, I was pretty clear in that um, I wanted to do a few things. I wanted to focus on youth and education, getting disc golf, focusing on that piece, and then all the way on the other side of the spectrum, I wanted to really focus more on the tour, and I wanted to create a fourth major. I wanted to expand either the national tour or merge with the pro tour, and both of those ideas took a while, but they both happened. And so that was the main focus, is that I saw an opportunity on the tour side and on the education side. I have a background in both, and I wanted to provide my expertise.
Yeah, and for those listening who might not understand the structure of how the PDGA operates, what is the role of the board within the PDGA hierarchy?
Sure, yeah. We're the fiduciaries for the organization, so we set the strategy. We hire the executive director. We're very high level, so if somebody says, "Hey, something happened at my local event," not the right person for that, just because
Right.
we kind of focus on the high level stuff. But there are 7 board members, and then the PDJ has a very robust staff, and then we kind of let them do the work, and then we kind of meet twice a year. We have monthly board meetings. In fact, I'm leaving Monday, and I'll be gone for 5 days in Lexington, Kentucky for one of our annual summits. So.
Okay. And do you feel that the way the PDGA is set up now, do you feel that like as a board member and as the president of the board, do you feel that you have quite a bit of not necessarily, yeah, power and influence in the decisions that are being made? Like when you joined the board, obviously you felt that you had things that you wanted to accomplish within it, like you mentioned with the education and the pro side of things. Do you feel that the board right now, you can go in there with those intentions and get things done efficiently, or is it's going to be difficult sometimes?
I mean, any organization that you work with, nothing, especially if it's a nonprofit, nothing is going to happen quickly. So I wanted to create that fourth major immediately back in 2017, and it
Yeah.
took time. So when I first joined the board, I was like, bam, bam, trying to present stuff. And the bottom line is there are 7 board members, and you can't do anything without the support of at least 4 of them. And
Right.
obviously you want to have the support of the staff. And so stuff does take time. Nothing happens overnight. But that's the same way in any company. Even in Ledgestone, yeah, I'm the only boss. I'm the person who gets to make the decisions, but nothing happens overnight.
Yeah, definitely. And then, what, like, obviously you mentioned some of the goals you had already for the PGA, but what are some more that you're kind of like still have in front of you at this point? Because obviously you've accomplished getting the fourth major done. You've accomplished the merger with the Pro Tour. But what are more goals that you have for the PGA going forward that you'd like to see accomplished? What's kind of your vision for those goals?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, our members have a wide variety of opinions. Some members say we should be doing this, and some say, "Hey, get disc golf in the Olympics and do this." And generally, all of those ideas are great for disc golf. It's just what can the PDJ focus on? At the end of the day, our primary core competency and what we do all the time is we sanction thousands and thousands of events, and it's not just the A tiers and the pro tours; it's the C tiers. So
Yeah.
we really have to make sure that we can't create more weekends, right? I mean, right now
Right.
we have so many events and they're filling fast. So we want to provide more TD support. And so focusing on that, we've hired several people to help in that aspect. So obviously, as sanctioned events have exploded, we want to make sure that we're supporting that with all the tools necessary so TDs like you or I can run more events or run them efficiently. So obviously, we have some continued work to do there. I want to see us continuing to look at education. We have opportunities at the collegiate level. We have opportunities all over the place with education. We have leagues that we could look at. So there are so many things, and that's why we're meeting here this next week. Twice a year we meet, and we're meeting to look at kind of the priorities on a strategic level going forward. We usually meet once a year to discuss strategy, and this happens to be that time.
Yeah, that kind of brings me to my next point because I think as the sport has just boomed as of recent, even just the past 5 years, even if you're looking at it from a big picture, I feel like the PDGA has almost had a sort of identity crisis where they're getting stretched thin a bit. Like you mentioned, just sanctioning tournaments is such a huge responsibility. I think that the merger with the Pro Tour was a step in the right direction because it almost was like, okay, we have this great entity that's providing a tour. Let's step aside from that. Where do you think that the PDGA kind of fits into disc golf as we move forward in the sport? Obviously, like the handling of certain aspects of the main tour has kind of been turned over to the Pro Tour. Are there other things that you think could be delegated to other entities, or kind of where do you see the PDGA fitting into the big picture?
I mean, at the end of the day, we delegated the tour to the Disc Golf Pro Tour because they were ready to do that. But honestly, when I first came on the board, they weren't ready, to
Absolutely.
be honest. And I would have loved. I mean, I was pushing for it even when I first came on the board, and I was wrong. I mean, I think Steve would probably tell you, okay, we weren't ready yet. We didn't have the Disc Golf Network. It didn't even exist yet. And so the PDGA still has a lot of influence, and even over the tour. I mean, we're sending representatives to all of the events. We're very involved in the tour. But in terms of the role in other areas, we're the ones that are, still going to be leading the charge when it comes to running World Championship events and our other owned majors. We're still looking at, in terms of running all of these other events, we may have, there are thousands and thousands of C tiers that need support and need back-end training and all of those things. Nobody else is stepping up to do that. We support the Paul Macbeth Foundation, Edge, Uplay, all these organizations who are trying to help with education, but we give out grants to other countries and to other organizations that are supporting those efforts. So, we write the rules in the competition. No one's stepping up to say, we're going to write the rules and our competition rules. And so that's a wide process. And so there are a lot of things that we're going to continue to be involved in, but at the high level, we're still the governing body for the sport of disc golf, and we're the ones that people come to when they want to run an event because we have the rating system, we have insurance, which some people say, not a big deal, but it really is a big deal. So, and we have, if you run an event and you use Tournament Manager and those kind of things, Disc Golf Scene, which the PDJ owns, those are very valuable tools that I can run my event from my phone, basically. Even a big event like Ledgestone, I can be on my phone for most of it, and that's very valuable to a TD.
So would you say that, you mentioned the Pro Tour, like you were able to turn that over because they were ready to step up. Would you say that, are you kind of saying that when other entities arise that are doing something that the PDGA does right now, but they can do it just as well or even better, that the PDGA is willing to turn over responsibilities via some kind of merger or agreement when those things arise?
I can't think of a specific example, but we've supported Edge for many years. We've given grants to other organizations that are working in youth and education. So in that specific example in space, there are always going to be opportunities to invest in youth and education. We're not going to be the only ones that can do that. So if organizations come along and they can do a great job there, I'm sure we're going to look at that. But in terms of the competition of disc golf, we're the governing body. No one's going to come along and replace the PDGA. As many, I see the comments online, I see the trolls, whatever you want to call them.
Sure.
No one's going to replace what the PDGA does, is the bottom line. When people say that or if they think that, they don't understand what goes into all of the legal work and the insurance and the back-end technology. The PDGA spends a lot of money just on technology, and people don't see that, but it really is very valuable. People can say negative things about this or that, but the reality is that we have a lot of very talented people doing very important work. So
So to kind of paint the picture for people, because I agree. There's certainly there's definitely a lot of chatter out there. Like you're saying. I've always felt that the PDGA, to me, I understand why it exists. Sometimes I do wonder all the back end work that's going down because you have to assume it's there. give kind of an idea of like what are some of the big misconceptions that you see when you're looking amongst kind of the public opinion to where people aren't understanding. Like, what are the big misconceptions that people don't get about what the PDGA does?
I mean, I think the rating process is one. People maybe they complain about the rating process, or why wasn't Macbeth's round rated higher at this event, or why wasn't Katrina's round rated higher here, or high rated players force ratings up or down. The ratings process has been fine tuned for so many years, and there's always a really good explanation for a question that somebody has. So the ratings process is 99% very efficient, and I'm sure there's small things that could be done to fix it, but it's a really good process that accurately gauges how good somebody is the bottom line. If you look at another misconception is what happens on the back end for supporting TDs. I think I just saw a report where our staff handled, we have 3 event support staff members, and then somebody who runs that department. I mean, they're handling messages from TDs and players within 90 seconds usually, and so, but they get them in the hundreds per month, right? And sometimes they're very detailed. Hey, I ran this event, and oops, I submitted it and put the entire wrong course and layout, and we have to go in and fix that. And so to get an accurate rating, or somebody says, man, I played all these years and I didn't have a PDJ number yet, but can you go back and add all those scores to my my profile? So those are the kind of things you never think of, but that's the request that we get.
And so along those lines, it seems like a lot of what the PDGA does have to do, you mentioned with kind of the support and just the back end stuff. Do you think that there's a lot of tasks right now that are not necessarily easy tasks, but more just kind of time consuming and just kind of need to get done tasks that aren't necessarily special projects, to where if down the line, if there is more staff available and more funding to where those processes could be more automated and then you have more staff to accomplish it, then the PDGA maybe would have more time to focus on kind of the more special, big type, big project things that they want to accomplish. Is that something you think that could happen down the line?
I mean, when we met in 2018 to review our strategic priorities, and we wanted to do a lot of things and to take it past just kind of the current mission. And the pandemic happened and exploded the sport, and we went from this to way off the charts. And so that changed what we had to focus on, and what we had to focus on was, wow, we have thousands and thousands of new players who want to play event, and that's it. And so that's all we could focus on for a while, was running all these sanctioned events, talking to these governor offices and countries saying, hey, we're actually a safe sport, you should open up. Because when the pandemic first started, our executive director and our director of operations, they were on the phone constantly saying, hey, open up, change your guidelines for outdoor events, because disc golf is not the same as basketball. Like, we should be able to have sanctioned competition in your state and your country. And so people don't see that kind of work that takes up a ton of time. And so we are still doing a lot of big things. We have a lot of big things planned. There's only so much that we can focus on, but our core competency still has to be, we're a membership organization. We have over 100,000 members. Mm-hmm. The primary reason that people play disc golf and join the PDGA is to play sanctioned competition, get a rating, get those member benefits, and we have to keep that kind of right there in the focus.
Absolutely. There's definitely a lot to manage when you, like you said, you're a member organization and you have so many active members at the moment. So going back to the rating system, because the rating system is definitely a hot topic. You mentioned, you're certainly pretty confident in the rating system. I know people chatter a lot about it. Admittedly, I think it's gotten a little bit less attention on the pro scene nowadays with all the world rankings that are out there and being used. But certainly it's used at the amateur level and the more local level. It's definitely a tool that a lot of people rely on. Do you think that the rating system is ever going to adapt, or do you feel that the model that's in place for it right now is really the one that's just built for the future?
Yeah, I mean, we always can make tweaks to it. I mean, I have an advanced math degree, and so I am intimately aware of what goes into the rating system just because I have a math degree. But the bottom line is that the rating system is designed to be You take an event and you have 50 players and you take their average rating and it spits out, on that kind of distribution. You take the scores and if that's kind of what the premise is. And so the idea that we could change it to a fixed course rating for a course is just not possible right now because courses change and conditions change and baskets change, tees, that tree is gone. So it's not like you can look at Augusta National, which actually changes every year, but you can look at a golf course that has a slope rating that doesn't change. Disc golf courses change way too often for us to have a specified course SSA or course rating. And so
Certainly.
the way we do it now really is the only way to do it, is how you play it against your competition in a specific event spits out your rating. And yes, that could be one stroke or two strokes different from a weekend to another weekend, but the conditions could have been different. The tees could have been different. So
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's certainly a tricky, it's a tricky hurdle to get over. I mean, I think a lot of people do underestimate the difficulty it is in creating a system like that to basically define a player's round. And certainly it's also going to be difficult from the PDGA dealing with the backlash, because at the end of the day, the people that are talking are the ones that are upset about the rating they got. So you're never really going to have, happy comments about it, certainly. But
look, if is there possibilities that we could do things to improve it? I'm sure they're always looking at that. But and are there weird little things that looks off? But the more players you have in an event, the more consistent the numbers are. Mm-hmm. If you have a 5-person event, the ratings could be all over the place. Right? Everybody could play great. Everybody could play awful. But in general, if you have a bunch of players, the ratings are going to be very consistent from event to event. So I would say I'm incredibly confident in the rating, and I know that even for me, I know that I'm about 2 strokes worse than I used to be, and guess what? That's about what my rating has dropped to. So
yeah. Well, kind of one more thing I wanted to get to before I let you go is, right now you're plugged in so many different places in disc golf, but kind of looking towards your future in the sport, what is like the ideal position you want to be in disc golf? What's the impact you really want to leave on the sport?
Yeah, I mean, we've raised an incredible amount of money for St. Jude over the years. If I had to look at a long-term goal, I think for charity right now we're at $400,000 or almost there. I'd love to raise $1 million for charity, even within the next 7 or 8 years at most. And so I'd love to continue to put courses in other countries as Paul's chair for his foundation. I'm not going to be on the PDGA board forever. It's a huge time commitment. And so as I eventually move on from that role, which I'm not sure when it'll be, I'll look to volunteer somewhere else. But I want to continue to put courses in the ground, continue to grow the events that we run to be the standard. I want people to look at it and say, wow, those events that Ledgestone runs, let's try to be like them.
Yeah, that's certainly a great goal. And I think that you're on your way, because Ledgestone is definitely looked at as the standard, I think, right now. It's certainly a great event. But thank you so much for joining the show, Nate. I really appreciate you giving all that insight. I think it'll be kind of eye-opening for some people to hear about all the things that the PDGA especially really has going on.
Yep. Sounds good, Trevor. Thank you.
All right. All right, and thanks again to Nate for joining the show. It was great hearing from him on all things PDGA and Ledgestone. I thought it was really interesting to get more of a big picture of what's going on over there at the PDGA. Make sure to leave some input in the comments about what you think of his opinion on the rating system and some of the other duties of the PDGA, as well as what you think about Ledgestone, what they've done for the sport. Definitely want to hear from your opinions from the listeners. Other than that, make sure you're here next Thursday. We're going to have another great episode. You're not going to want to miss it. We'll see you then.